Hey there, nerds. Like the New York Yankees, this is number 28 as a number of championships we've won. Fun fact, I actually hate the Yankees, but, it was a nice little reference. Grew up a Mets fan, but yeah. Anyway, I'm joined here by my wonderful co-host, the man himself, the icon, the showstopper, Mr. Seth Like us. How we doing?
I'm doing pretty phenomenal, Pedro. I woke up about 2 hours ago.
Outstanding.
Yeah. And had just been doing some chores around the house, and excited to be here. Excited to talk some games with you.
Absolutely. Now, as you know, I've been monitoring your sleep schedule. So
Mhm.
where are we at?
Well, where we're at is not great. Um, but I did get a decent amount of rest today.
Okay.
Stayed up until about 10 or 11 after work. Woke up at 6. Not too bad.
Okay.
The
That's
dog
good.
woke me up probably because he was desperate to go outside. He's like,
He's
please.
like, listen, buddy, we gotta do this.
Yeah, we gotta get outside. Yeah.
That's good that you got him trained to be able to let you know when he's got to go to the bathroom.
Oh yeah, yeah. He was easy to train.
Because famously, my first interaction with him, I'm like, oh, I gotta let the dog out, see if he needs to go outside. So I try to let him outside. He doesn't go anywhere. Then he
Yeah.
proceeds to promptly stare at me and piss on the floor. I was like, that is awesome. Like
Well, I mean,
that.
he was literally
I
like
know.
one day in the house at that point. So
Yeah, but that was just my first interaction with a good old Obi.
yeah,
So it's been a little bit since we've recorded. We had a
about
recently.
2 weeks,
What?
I think.
Yeah, 2 weeks. We recently had our litmus.
Yeah.
And how did you feel about your gifts, buddy? I feel like
Oh, I loved him.
your specific gifts
Nailed him.
were yeah.
Um, I don't have him set up yet because I got to get a second shelf for my Kaseki collection. It's I have no more room. Like even my Reverie is still sitting here, right?
Yeah.
It's still sitting here on the side because I don't know if I can show that there's nothing, there's no, I can't fit anything else there. So
That's
I either
beautiful.
have to go above it or on the side of the wall here. I have to figure something out.
Yeah, that's good
So
stuff. Yeah, when I eyeballed that Japanese reverie, I'm like he needs this.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's
Yeah.
very, very appreciated. And then you get the soundtrack as well,
Yeah.
which is pretty sweet. So
Yeah, and Reverie has a fucking fire soundtrack, so I can't
yeah,
wait. I cannot wait for you to get fully caught up with Trails, so we can like talk some fucking Trails, fucking
I'm getting there.
spoiler cast the shit out of that.
I'm getting there.
So speaking of getting there, where go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say, have you opened that art book yet?
No, I haven't got a chance to. I can't wait. I'm waiting. I kind of want to do it on video, like do a video
Hmm.
of like me reacting to it. So that's been my plan. But yeah, I love that art book. I'm a big
Yeah,
fan of the art of the Kaseki series. So I'm like, that was a beautiful gift. I loved that.
yeah. I thought it was pretty sweet. I've never seen that around anywhere. So
Now, did you get yourself one?
no, I did not.
That is discipline. I appreciate that. Because
Yeah.
sometimes when they see a gift, they're like, "Fuck, I really kind of want this too." Yeah. So speaking of getting there, what have you been playing, buddy? What do you got for me?
So after I beat Trails from Zero, I started Trails into Azure and I got about, I think, maybe less than 10 hours in, a little bit. And I was like, man, I got 4.1 hours into Trails of Azure and
Yeah.
I was really liking it. But I was like, you know what? I need to sidetrack. I need to step away from Kiseki real
Yeah.
quick.
Gotta take a
I
break.
got some I got some unfinished business, Pedro.
Yeah.
I got some stuff I need to take care of. And this last week, I've been busting all over the place. Been busting
Yeah.
all over the city. Been
Yeah.
busting all over the slums.
Ah.
It's been busting all over the place in Final Fantasy VII Remake. That
So
Buster
you're
Sword.
going through it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm almost finished with the main game. Then I
Okay.
gotta go play the Yuffie DLC, and then I'll be ready for Rebirth.
Okay. That's good. That's
Really
good.
enjoying it, dude. As you
Yeah.
know, this game was stolen from me.
Pain.
Yeah, via a dark time,
Yeah.
and I didn't enjoy it to the full extent that I could have. Now, you could argue that I'm not enjoying it to the full extent this time because I'm playing through on New Game Plus. But really, I just wanted to refamiliarize myself with the characters, the abilities, and remember how good the game really was. And I'm doing that. I'm having an absolute blast. So just tearing through all these enemies. Now I'm at the very end of the game. It's starting to ramp up in difficulty a little bit because I think I've only gained 3 levels in the entire New Game Plus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's because
Now,
the
yeah,
XP scaling because you're
yeah,
so high level from
right.
normal enemies. So
Yeah. So how is that Reno fight the second time? I've been like itching to do it again. Where you fucking trade
um,
hands with Reno and even the other dude from the Turks. Those are my 2 favorite fights in that game.
I absolutely blasted them. I probably beat them in, not accounting for like the cutscenes that happen in between phases and whatnot, 45 seconds.
Wow. One shot, huh?
Pretty much. I mean, not a one shot, but like I ripped them apart
Yeah.
because I did a lot of stuff the first time through in remake, so I have Cloud pretty decked out with like his SP, and he has the hard
Yeah.
edge. He's a 100% physical attacker. So
That's how my
when
Cloud is.
when Cloud hits, he does some damage. He just
Yeah.
busts.
Yeah. Just busting all over the place.
Yeah. One thing I will say that I've noticed in Final Fantasy VII Remake, not a whole lot of options with the weapons.
No.
Now, there's options, right? But not a whole lot
Not
of good
many
options.
options. Yeah,
No,
no.
like there's a very clear winner for like Cloud, which is the hard edge. There's like
Yeah.
debatably like 2 for Tifa, like the metal
Mhm.
knuckles or the feathered gloves, and then you like Aerith with like the mithril rod, and then Barrett's even worse. Barrett's got like 2 melee weapons for some reason, which I don't understand at all. Why would you want Barrett as a melee attacker? I
You
don't
don't.
get it. You know,
Yeah.
so I don't know. We'll see.
So
Hopefully in Rebirth it gets better.
so my plan with Final Fantasy VII, because I stopped playing Crisis Core because of the sad boy energy.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I'm gonna ramp up. I'm gonna ramp up Final Fantasy VII watch in February. So like next week, basically. Since I just literally I have one game in my backlog that's like in the chamber that I gotta finish up, but and we're gonna get to that. But we I feel like we are heading towards Final Fantasy VII at the end of February, I believe, right? It's like February.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure it's the end of February. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I feel like hitting Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, and then my own. I'm probably gonna replay remake because I've never replayed it on the integrated version.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and now like I bought a TV now, so like
Oh, big boy.
yeah. Well, so that's a story. So I've been waiting months and months to find like the right deal on a TV, and I was trying to get into the 120 hertz TVs, but I just
Mm-hmm.
couldn't find one that had what I wanted for the right price point. So I ended up settling on the TV I bought currently, which I bought a QLED,
Oh,
um,
okay.
an Amazon Omni Fire TV QLED, and since my apartment's kind of small, I went with 55 inches.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I probably could have gotten away with 65, but we went 55. It's fine.
Yeah.
But it has like auto low latency, VRR. The only thing it didn't have was 120 frames. But like, you know what? There's not too many games that command it right now.
Right.
And so when I get a bigger place, that's just going to become my bedroom TV.
Mm-hmm.
And then then we're going to see what the market is on on the Big Daddy. Because when I get a living room TV, it's got to be minimum 65 inches or up at a minimum.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a
Yeah,
reasonable price or
yeah.
size.
Yeah, and then I think I'm gonna go like Hisense because I think Hisense they have a set that's about like at right now it's about 1,000. So I think by the time I buy a TV, it's gonna come
Okay,
down. Yeah, so we're
I like
waiting
it,
to strike. The HDR looks fucking beautiful though. I will say that.
dude. I'm gonna tell you what.
I bet you had a fucking raging hard on with your
Oh my god, I did because Final Fantasy VII was the game. I remember
There
Final
you
Fantasy VII and Jedi Survivor were the 2 games where like that HDR problem with my TV was most
Yeah,
noticeable.
it was
So
problematic.
to catch people up, the last TV I had, for some reason, the HDR was just completely broken on it. When you turned HDR on, everything got like this gray filter over it. It was completely washed out. And me and Pedro tried to figure this out for what, probably like an hour the one night,
Yeah,
right? And it was just like came to the conclusion, no, it's just broken. Like
Yeah,
something's
it sure
completely wrong
sucks.
with the HDR. So with this new TV, I finally get to see real HDR for the first time, and I'm like, damn, this is beautiful, dude.
Yeah.
This is gorgeous.
Now, are you plugged into the eARC port?
Yes.
Okay, that's because that's also key as well. I didn't know that like for you to get all the fancy shit, you got to plug
Mm-hmm.
into the eARC port. Now, how many eARC ports did your TV give you? One.
I have no idea. Maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
No idea.
I feel like a lot of TVs give you one. I'm like, and why would you do that? Because like that's also the if you want like Dolby sound or stuff like that, like the good sound bar shit, also has to go into eARC. So I'm like, why would you do that?
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, see,
Yeah.
the reason I like it is because with the capabilities with eARC, like you can just turn on your PlayStation and your TV will turn on with it and just go right to the PlayStation. And it's like,
Mhm,
nice, dude. This is pretty sweet.
mhm.
But what I will say, trailing back to Final Fantasy VII Remake, is that integrated version on PS5, dude, is just so nice. Just buttery smooth, runs like an absolute champ. And I'm just running it on performance mode. I don't mind 30 frames per second, but you have to show me like an improvement in some sort of quality, and
Yeah.
I'm not seeing it. So I mean, I flipped back and forth several times, and I'm like, I can't tell a difference, but I do know that quality runs at 30 frames per second. I can tell, and so I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna keep it at 60. Looks great, plays great, not running into any slowdown issues whatsoever, and just having an absolute blast, man. And what a fucking game! Can we just shout out Square Enix real quick for just nailing it? All right,
Yeah.
just absolutely killing it with Final Fantasy VII Remake. I mean, I don't think anyone really believed in them,
No.
right? Because they tend to just fuck shit up all the time at Square Enix, like a bunch of idiots. But for some reason, the stars aligned, and we got this wonderful recreation of one of the greatest games of all time. To be seen if that continues,
Yeah.
especially with Nomura on it, because
Yeah.
he's already starting his bullshit. But yeah, I'm having a blast. I'm loving this game. Having so
Now,
much fun.
here's what's crazy because I remember when Final Fantasy VII Remake got announced. Remember Cyber Connect was on it?
Yes, dude, I
Are you
do.
can you fucking believe that was like what? Cyber Connect.
I don't know. Thank God someone at Square Enix was like, "Hey, maybe we should take this one seriously." And these old heads at Square Enix were like, "Oh no, it's fine. Put the amateur Cyber Connect on it." And
No, 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 no.
that's not fair. They're not amateurs. They just create terrible games.
Yeah. Could you imagine a world we lived in where they fucked up Final Fantasy VII Remake?
It's over, dude. I would just lose it. I would just absolutely lose it.
Now they survived fucking up Chrono Cross, kind of. So I guess they kind of fucked it up.
That
They
made me
survived
really
that.
sad. That
I,
like
I,
that
I felt for you.
really made me sad because it just looked like dog shit. It played like dog shit, and I still haven't gone back. And I'm like, wow,
Yeah,
okay, so you guys really just don't care.
dude. I remember I have it for Switch, which probably was mistake number one. But I booted it up and I was like, oh no.
Yeah,
They hurt my boy. They hurt him.
yeah. Now they have gone back and patched it apparently and made it a lot better, but
Damage was done.
I mean, for one of the greatest RPGs of all time, it's just terrible, and it's got mixed reviews on Steam. And it's like, how is this hard, dude? Like, how does Square Enix drop the ball so often on this stuff? I have no idea.
I
It's
don't know,
like
man.
they are a completely incapable company.
I would say inconsistent. They are very inconsistent at this point because they have very
Well,
high highs and very low fucking lows.
yeah, I mean, I just feel like they screw up so often with stuff that you have to just be like, all right, well, people need to start losing their fucking jobs. And I hate to put it like that, but like,
Well, no one ever gets fired in Japan. They just like give them a window seat.
yeah, I mean, like we need to
Maybe
start
everyone has a window seat.
we need to start
Everyone,
taking these people out, man. I mean, God.
Yeah.
And then all the stuff they did in the last 10 years with the Western games, like trying to focus on like, Avengers, or it was Avengers, right? That they did.
Yeah, that game was a fucking turd.
Yeah. Thank God they sold those properties, man. All Square Enix needs to do to be successful is focus on its Japanese role playing games. That's
Yeah,
what made them famous.
that's what we love them
That's,
for.
that's who you took to the dance. Dance with them, dude. Like,
Mhm.
break it down. Make the best RPGs that you can, and you're going to be absolutely golden because that's what you
Yeah.
do. That's what makes you your money. It's like, come on.
Yeah. That's how we get even like weird games. Like I used to love their like obscure games that they made, like Unlimited Saga and shit like that. But
Yeah.
then like you would get the random ones like the Bouncer, which I personally don't think is a good game. But hey, but
Haven't played.
then we recently have you ever played The Quiet Man? Oh, buddy. Next time I come over, I'm gonna download it on your system, and we're just gonna run through
All right. Sounds good.
it. and and I can't wait to see your reaction because this game, oh my, oh fuck. I'm like, what were they thinking? Is in famously quoting the angry video game nerd. So Kaseki and Final Fantasy VII remake. Okay, all
Yep.
right, I like it. So I recently have I've been playing Fantasy Star 3.
Okay.
Uh,
Classic.
yeah. I was in I was in the mood for like a grind heavy RPG, and oh fucking goddamn did I find it in Fantasy Star 3, let me tell you. Like, wow, there's a lot of grinding in that game. So that's kind of like my mindless, like throw a podcast on and just like grind for an hour,
Sure.
gain some levels. So, but what's interesting about this game, and like I won't talk too much about it because I want to give it a review whenever I finish it.
Mm-hmm.
But this game is like, I don't know what is my attraction to games that are considered black sheep of series. Because I didn't realize Fantasy Star 3 is like the black sheep. I didn't know that, but
Yeah.
it was the next logical one to play because I beat the original Fantasy Star, then I beat Fantasy Star 2. So I'm like, well, might as well play 3. And I'll say I can see why people don't like it because there was points that I didn't like. But this game does one thing that's like a sin to me.
Okay.
So you know how sometimes like you play a Final Fantasy game, when you walk into a town, it's a distinct town, right? Like it's either this guy has music that you'll know it by, or someone will, or like a label will pop up like, hey, you're here now.
Mhm.
Fantasy Star 3 doesn't do that. And yeah, so all the
When-
towns have the
when-
same music.
what?
Yeah, and they all look the same. Like very similar, just slightly different layouts.
Oh,
And
no.
yeah, and then like unless you find an NPC that tells you where you're at, like a random one, they're like, "Welcome to here," and they're not always there. You won't know where you are. And there's a point in the game where I reached where, and I was using a guide because literally every Genesis RPG for some reason came with a guide because they thought we were stupid. But yeah, but specifically for Fantasy Star games, like dungeons are really complicated, and like sometimes like you won't really know where to go. Like the game is very non-linear in that aspect where it's like it won't tell you where to go unless you seek out like kind of hints like, hey, go here or go this way. But so I'm like following a guide and it just tells me go to this town. I'm like, uh like where in reference is that town? There's no landmarks. So yeah, it gets really confusing. And then there's a point in the game where towns get abandoned because like they're getting attacked by cyborgs and shit. So you'll go to a town, there's nobody there. You don't know what town that is. Like you don't know if that's where you're supposed to be or not. So
Huh.
I will say it is definitely it's an interesting RPG. The story has its moments where it's, I don't want to say lackluster, but it's definitely like I feel like these early 90s RPGs like just didn't have really deep stories because maybe
Yeah.
that wasn't a thing at the time. But this game does something interesting where you have like generation. So when you finish the first generation, you have to pick who you marry, and then like that'll dictate your offspring who becomes your next character. Like
Hmm.
what his stats will be. So if you marry somebody who's more of a magic user, he'll have magic. If you marry somebody who's like more of a physical attacker, he won't be able to use magic. So and like this game has like multiple endings
Hmm. That's pretty
for
cool.
yeah. But here's the other thing, and I've been doing a little experiment, right? Because retro game wise, I've been very much living in the Sega Genesis world. We're in there,
Okay. We're back, huh?
and we're back. But like this game and the Fantasy Star series in general, which I like the Fantasy Star series. I can't wait to play 4. 4 is supposed to be the one. Like 4 is supposed to be like the fucking top tier Sega Genesis RPG. But the fact that like if you were on a schoolyard and you were arguing with a Nintendo fanboy about like who had better RPGs, you're lying. Like because you'll play Fantasy Star 3 and then we're like, "Oh, okay." And then you'll play the this I think Final Fantasy 2 or aka 4 came out at the same time,
Yeah.
and it's like comedy hour. Like 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 really? Or like
Yeah,
you're
not even
playing
close.
yeah, you're fucking playing like Chrono Trigger or fucking Secret of like come on. Like come on. So that's been a fun little retro foray. Then next, I kind of been back in the Kiseki world, kind of.
Okay. Okay. Tell me.
So I beat The Legend of Nayuta, Boundless
Hey.
Trails. Yeah,
Love it. Love it.
yeah. It's the first RPG cranked out in the new apartment,
Nice.
and I will say I loved every second. Nah, not every second, but I loved most of this game, most of it. Like if you like East and you like kind of like the writing of the Trail series, this is for you. I don't know if you'll like the graphical style, but I liked it. It's a remake of a PSP game. What do you want?
Sure.
But I don't know. I don't know where this game falls into like the mainline Trails connection because there are some connections. There are some. Like the main
Okay.
character's last name is Herschel, which is we'll do with that what we may. Uh, the one character on the cover and who you run into looks like the Grandmaster,
Okay.
which the writer, or I don't know what his position is, or president of Falcom. I don't know what the fuck he does, but he's the Falcom guy, and he says it's a mere coincidence that they look alike. I'm like, is it? Is it? um, but Falcom's famous for reusing assets, so you never know.
Sure.
But like, are you gonna really have two characters that look that alike?
Yeah.
Um, but this game, the thing it does is that like kind of has the biggest connection to the Trail series is it kind of explains the overall world, kind of.
Okay.
Because you ever notice like sometimes like when characters talk, they'll talk about the Earth being flat.
Mm-hmm.
This game touches on that. The game kind of explains what happens, and in my opinion, this game, if it's connected to Trails, if it is, because there's been no confirming that it's not, or it's still confirming that it is. They've Falcom has always left this kind of up to interpretation, which is a strange thing to do. But I think this happens after this game takes place like after Trails in the Daybreak or whatever that third Trails game is that's in the Calvard arc.
Mm-hmm.
I think this takes place well after that, after whatever happens to Zamaria, because and I don't want to get into spoilers, but yeah, like it just shit happens in this game. Like you're like, huh. But this game does that one Falcom thing we hate.
What? What's that? Tell me about it.
So when you get an ending, but it's not the real ending. They're like, wait, there's more.
Yeah.
There's about 10 to 15 hours of more of gameplay for you to get the real ending. Like, I'm like, why do that? Just why?
It's like fuck right off with that shit, dude. It's so
Yeah,
annoying.
because I was like, so towards the end of the game, I'm like, okay, this game like it kind of overstayed its welcome. Where you're like, all right, like this game probably could have ended 10 hours ago,
Mm-hmm.
but here we are. So you have to do like the after story that takes literally another 15 hours, and
That's so annoying.
yeah. So I was like on the fence about it. I'm like, okay, is that a good thing? Where like, look at all this content they packed into it, or is that just kind of superficial that they just didn't need to do that? They just make the game that long to begin with and don't fucking insult me.
Yeah,
Because like
for sure.
when you get to a point where you know how it is, like when you get to the end of a game, right, or you think is the end of the game,
Mhm.
Emotionally, you're done with the game.
Yeah. You hit that like, "Oh, I've done it,"
Yeah.
state, and then it's like, "Oh, no, there's 10 more hours."
Yeah.
Not
And
about
what I've
that.
noticed with games, like I can't if you hit me with that, like, oh, there's more to do. Like I can't. I'm not one of those people who can like put it down and then come back to it. Like I got to do it
Right.
straight through. Like I can't sit there and just like, oh, I'll walk away and then come back later. That's why I usually don't play DLC because once I'm done with a game, I'm done with it. So as far as playability, I'd recommend it if you're a fan of the Kaseki series and just Falcom in general. I don't know if did you buy it? Is it on your reader?
Yep. Yeah, I have it. I have a physical version of it, so
Oh, very nice, very nice.
just waiting at this point.
Yeah, like it's very much you could tell it was a handheld game because the games broke it down like into stages where like, oh, I can play like 2 3 stages, put it down. So it's very
Mhm.
much pick up and play. Like you don't need to sit there and put 10 hours a session in. So
Sure.
that's good. And then lastly, your boy has jumped back into Aurorsia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're back. I was trying to figure out the reason I stopped playing was moving and all that shit, but
Mhm.
I'd gotten kind of stuck. Not like stuck in the story, but like remember we were doing the Alexander stuff,
Mhm.
and I got stuck where I couldn't make it to the next quest line because I hadn't unlocked all the aether currents, and one of them
Oh, okay.
requires you to fly, so I had to go like figure out where these guys were, like because I didn't
Mhm.
realize like when you find all the possible aether currents, like like then you got to do the missions. I didn't know you had to do missions until you told me that. I was like,
Oh,
oh,
oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, the side quests.
yeah. So I had to like track these guys down. Like, okay, which guy has which mission? So I finally sat down and just like did it for the one area, and then finally unlocked the next quest line for Alexander. And then I was like, and then I just started messing around and doing, joined a couple fates and
Nice.
yeah. So I was like, oh yeah, this is nice. I'm back. I'm glad to be back in Aurora.
Yeah, Final
So
Fantasy 14 for me is like a very comfy game. Like it's very much I'm gonna jump in and I'm gonna, you know, have a good time and just it's a very comfortable, relaxing game for me to play. And yeah, I'm always down, dude. Like if you're playing and I'm off, I'll jump in and join you. I never cancel my subscription like ever. So
me neither, dude. I just think it's one of those games where it's good to have like when you don't really want to commit to anything else. So like when I finished Legend of Nights, I was like looking at my game shelf. I was like, all right, what do I want to play next? I was like, I looked at Near, I looked at East. I was like, don't really want to do that. So I'm like, I'm just gonna play Realm Reborn.
I think that's totally valid.
Yeah, well, because I got to get through like a bunch of expansions before I forget what the new one, Dawnbreakers.
Dawnbreak, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna happen unless I like sit down and really just fucking hammer Final Fantasy 14.
Well, you did it for fucking trails, so I think it's
No,
possible.
it is possible, but it's just that's a lot of time. Uh,
What I will say, Pedro, and I you've probably heard this before, Shadowbringers, top tier Final Fantasy.
yeah, I'm on Stormblood. Is that the one?
Yeah,
Stormblood.
Stormblood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Which I like the villain in Stormblood.
Yes.
So yeah, so that story definitely has its hook to me as far as like interest wise. So I'm excited, like I said, to go through it. I have another like 3-day weekend coming up soon,
Yeah.
like in a few weeks, and that's I tell you what, bud, I love nothing more than on a 3-day weekend when I don't have anywhere to be.
Yeah.
I love to just sit at home and play video games. I love to just sit there and just no life on RPG for fucking 3 days. And people are like, "Don't you get cabin fever?" I'm like, "Absolutely not."
See, the thing that I wish I could do that, but what holds me back is my fucking ADHD, dude. I always end up getting distracted for hours. When
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna play the shit out of this today. I'm gonna play it all day.
Yeah.
99% of the time, I end up playing it for like an hour because I'll get distracted and it's just
Oh no.
miserable. Yeah.
See, I get hyper focused sometimes, so like I'll be in the fucking zone. and then the next thing I know, it'll be like, oh shit, 6 hours went by. What happened?
Yeah.
I'll look at my
Yeah.
phone, have because I put my phone on do not disturb a lot now.
My phone is always on do not disturb, dude. 100% of the time.
It's like the greatest setting in the world. Like,
Yes.
I don't know why it didn't do this to begin with. I literally I love nothing more than just fucking coming home, sitting the fuck down. Now that especially now that I have this sweet ass fucking TV,
Yeah.
um, just sitting down and just fucking going at it. That's all I did this past weekend was Legend of Night. So just fucking in there.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
So
Hell yeah.
all right, so that's what I've been playing. Was there anything else you wanted to add, sir, before we move on?
No,
All
I'm
right,
good.
so let's get into this Square Enix using AI art. What the what? Talk to me. What the fuck's going on here?
So Square Enix is coming out with Foamstars, the PlayStation multiplayer Splatoon ripoff. People are saying it's not a Splatoon ripoff. It literally is. It's a Splatoon ripoff. Um, I'm not a fan of either one, by the way. And I, there's been all this controversy about AI coming out, and I think AI is fucking super lame. I think it's used by big corporations to create low quality um, content, and it just reeks of like soulless product. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
that's how AI. That's how I view AI. And Square Enix got caught using, or they admitted they were using AI to generate like art and foam stars, and they were like, "Oh no, it's only 0.01% of our assets." And it's like, okay,
oh,
well,
okay.
that's what it is now, maybe, or also that's a totally real number that they didn't just make up. But um, yeah, that's so. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about like AI coming around in gaming? And I listened to this totally unhinged conversation between David Jaffe and Colin Moriarty earlier, where David Jaffe was like, "Oh yeah, we should all be living in test tubes and in just like in virtual reality all the time. That's definitely what we should be doing." I'm like, dude, you're fucking weird. I've come around to like I'm just not a big fan of David Jaffe. I don't like him that much because he's just completely unhinged, and I don't know. His AI conversation with Colin was like ridiculous.
At this point, I think he's just a weird white guy from Alabama. I'll be honest with you. That's kind of
Yeah,
how I feel about David Jaffe. Um, I as far as AI art, I will say this: if it's gonna increase like game production, where let's say if you're making assets for like a fucking random, I don't know, let's use a sports game for example. Like, okay, make all the fans AI art. Who gives a fuck, right? Like, if it's stuff like that, that's like stupid, tedious bullshit that takes away from like the main core of what you're doing, I'm not gonna care. But if it's gonna be like in an RPG where there's gonna be like NPCs that are fucking AI and or there's gonna be like just character assets that are AI, I'm gonna have a problem with it
yeah,
because like that's
and
good.
I was just gonna say, I think it starts out with like the small stuff, right? Like
Yeah,
icons and whatnot. But as AI advances more and more, like it's 100%. These companies are going to try and pull one over on people by being like, "Oh no, this game, you're going to end up getting whole games that are just completely AI generated," and it's just like ridiculous, soulless
yeah,
production. I'm not a fan of it.
yeah. So and art style is a big deal for me because I don't know. I feel like art styles make games iconic. Like, could you imagine? Could you imagine like a game like Jet Set Radio not being cell shaded?
Right.
Like that kind of what makes the game the game. Like it's kind of what its thing is. Or trying to think, or just even some of the pixel art Final Fantasies. Like, could you imagine them just like random pixel art? Like, whatever.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't like this future that we're going towards. Um, because it's like, man, if everything is just AI created,
what's the
like
point?
at what point is our existence just completely meaningless?
Yeah,
And it's like these are the arts that we're giving to AI. It's not like we're giving AI like these blue collar fucking jobs that like I mean, this is coming from blue collar worker, are completely meaningless, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Like our art forms is like sort of like the soul of humanity, sort of,
Yeah.
and we're like, oh no, this is where we want AI to take over. It's like Jesus, man. I don't know. I hate this. I absolutely I hate the AI art thing that's going on right now, and
Yeah, I think I don't know. Like I think if like maybe you can still have an artist giving the AI direction, like I can live with it. If like I said, if it makes the production easier, where I don't know, if it's got to make productivity better, but if it's going to be where you're gonna do weird shit, like I recently heard a comedy show done by an AI George Carlin. Like it was fucking weird, dude.
see,
Like
I
that.
don't
Uh,
agree. Like good art should not be easy to do, you know? And I think that's what makes things special. Like if you think like Leonardo da Vinci is special because people couldn't do what he did.
right,
And I don't think we should lower the barrier of entry for people that, to be honest, have no talent. And it's like, okay, this isn't what you weren't meant to pick up a brush and paint.
right.
That's not what your talent is. And if everyone can give direction in an AI system, then no one is special. And we're just this is like the what I'm seeing in society today. Like we're lowering the bar to meet the lowest common denominator constantly
Mhm.
to make everyone feel good about themselves. But when everyone feels good about themselves, no one does because no one accomplishes anything. There's like it should be hard to do really wonderful things.
You know what they
You
call
have to
that?
struggle.
Communism. They call that
Yeah,
communism.
exactly. Communism. That's right.
Yeah, I just like I said, I think the AI art thing is weird. But I do really think it could have its applications where like maybe helping with translations would be great. You
Yeah, I
know?
mean that's different. You know,
Or yeah,
that's adding function to something that people have already created.
yeah.
Um,
So I don't know. I don't like it though. I don't really want it in my games to be honest with you.
you know, I agree. Same.
But I feel like it's coming though. I feel like we're gonna get so many within the next 10 years. We're gonna get like I feel like at least a couple fully AI art or feel AI written games.
I mean, it depends on how much people clown on them, right? Like if Square Enix, for instance, starts putting out more and more AI stuff and it's not profitable for them, they'll stop doing it.
Yeah.
But people really have to start clowning on this AI thing because if we don't, we're gonna lose too much ground and then it's never gonna come back.
Yeah. Like you know what? Speaking of AI, you know what game feels like AI did all the fucking art? PALWorld.
Oh
I feel like
yeah,
somebody took a fucking AI like, hey, make me a Pokemon game with guns.
yeah. Well, that game is absolutely exploding, and I've seen it. I've looked into it. It's
It
not for
looks
me personally. I don't
it
like
looks so
survival games,
dumb.
but
It looks so fucking dumb.
yeah, it's dark. Like people get like the wrong impression because of like the cutesy aesthetic, but that game is dark. You can capture people, kill them, and sell their body parts for
Yeah, it's like
resources. You know,
fucking ridiculous. But
yeah.
how do you feel about this game catching like all the smoke from the Pokemon community? Like
I mean,
the Pokemon community is up in arms.
the Pokemon community fucking blows though, dude. Like they're always whining and complaining about something, and honestly, so I love Pokemon, right? But the
Yeah.
Pokemon community sucks. And um I feel like people have a hard time coming to terms with the fact that Game Freak is a hack developer, right? And
Here's what I was gonna say. Not to cut you off, but like I was talking to somebody else about this the other day. Game Freak is like the fucking Madden developer of Nintendo, where they just like they essentially make Madden every fucking year
well,
and have no competition. Have no competition.
it's worse though because like at least Madden looks good and plays good. Pokemon does not. Like Scarlet and Violet, I think were like fun because of like the step forward they took in Pokemon. But if it wasn't Pokemon, if it was any other game, they would have been absolutely clowned on. Like no one would have won that crap. Scarlet and Violet look like a GameCube game. You know, they're truly horrendous looking games, and there's no excuse for it. Um, and Game Freak just does not care, or they are unable to do it. I think Game Freak had a really, really hard time transitioning from 2D to 3D, and I think that's
Yeah.
evidenced from the fact that it took them like 10 years late to transition into 3D.
Yeah.
And I think that the games have been kind of, I don't know, lackluster ever since. What are you talking about that you can't put every Pokemon in the game because you'd have to like develop animations for them and whatnot?
Yeah.
Like get at you
Yeah.
are Game Freak. You have the most profitable franchise on earth.
Mm-hmm.
You
And you're
can
telling
do
me
it,
you
dude.
can't.
You can do it. Like I don't know, man. I'm just so anti Game Freak, and I think it's awesome that PALWorld is like sort of making an asshole out of them. Um, and I think that's why people are so up in arms, because it's like a danger, right? It's like, oh
Mm.
shit, like
They feel threatened.
other people can do this, so like we got to protect the Pokemons, and it's like, fuck off.
No, see, here's what I think I could equate this to. Remember how like we used to fucking suck off Bethesda for their world building, like, oh, this is great, and then
Yeah,
The Witcher came out and was like, ha ha, funny, and just fucking
yeah,
kind of dunked all over them. And Bethesda's been forced to, or at least take a long look in the mirror and change a little bit.
yep,
And I think I'm hoping the same thing happens with Game Freak, where they're seeing something that like remotely threatens kind of their space,
yep.
and then they give us something wild like Gold and Silver remake again. I
Speaking
would
of
love that.
Pokemon, I 3D printed this
Oh,
Onyx.
sweet.
Yeah, and it's pretty sweet.
Oh yeah, that is
Caitlin
sweet.
did a really good job painting it. So
Yeah,
yeah. Really
that's
enjoying the
outstanding.
3D printing hobby again. Having a
Good.
blast. Yeah,
I feel like I would like 3D printing.
it's rewarding, but god damn it, is it frustrating, dude? It is so frustrating when a print fails. Like
Oh no.
I've just been on this bad luck streak for the last 2 weeks where like almost every print has failed. So I'm getting very frustrated trying to troubleshoot this thing, and
Mm,
but
yeah, that sounds.
it is a really fun hobby, and it's really rewarding, and but also toxic. You know, you gotta be really careful when you're
Why is it
3D
taco?
printing.
Whoa? What?
It's toxic because the resin is toxic.
Like physically toxic.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So until the resin is like completely cured, it's very toxic. So you got to wear like
Yeah.
a mask and glasses and gloves, and
Okay. See, I
you got to
thought
be
you meant like
careful.
toxic, where there was like gatekeeping and fucking
Oh
shenanigans in the
no,
3D printing community. I'm like,
no,
oh, do tell.
no, nothing like that.
All right. So moving on. Moving on. How do we feel about this recent Microsoft Direct?
I didn't watch it.
I watched like maybe a half hour of it and fell asleep because we were talking off air, but these like developer. No offense to the devs, like, I want them to have their shine, but some of y'all are boring as fuck and put me to bed.
Yeah, I mean that's not what you do, right? So like for instance, what we're talking about is they were doing this developer diary style like commentary on their games, and there's a place for that, but I don't think it's when you're trying to sell your game.
No,
And like I'm really excited for Avowed. I've been excited for Avowed for years. Um, but the people that they were showing, like half of the Avowed, like I don't know, trailer dev diary thing that they were showing
talking.
was the developers talking about it, and I'm like, okay, well, like the developers are not entertainers, you know. And there's an important distinction there, because you can't get me excited for your game when you're just showing me, I don't know, Billy from the design
Yeah,
studio like talking about how he came up with this character design or something like that. Like that's something that you go into after you've already played the game, or you're looking for more details,
yeah,
or like you love the game so much you want to learn as much about it as possible. um that's not how you sell the game, and I think I think it was a weird decision to do it like that, especially when a lot of people saw Avowed for the first time in forever and were kind of let down on like the art style and whatnot. Um, I think Avowed looks great personally. I
So
think
do I. I
Avowed looks
think the art looks
awesome.
fantastic.
I think a Bethesda style game in the Pillars of Eternity universe
Yeah.
looks phenomenal. So I'm really excited for it. But yeah, definitely a weird take. That's the only thing I saw from. Oh, and we saw the Indiana Jones trailer. So
Which you said didn't
um,
look great.
yeah, Indiana. I love the first three Indiana Jones movies. I hope this game is great. It doesn't look too exciting to me. I think they did a really good job recreating Harrison Ford's likeness. I think that looks really good, and the music and everything seems phenomenal. But I don't know, the game just doesn't look fun to play. If I'm being honest.
Okay. Like I said, I'm on media blackout for it because I just kind of want to get it in my hands and see what the deal is. But I feel like we keep talking about this, and I feel like this is always the same conversation we keep having with Microsoft. Like, is this the year? Is this the year? Is this the year? And until Sony comes out and kind of, I don't know, dunks on them, which I feel like is coming. I feel like a Sony slam dunk is coming. I feel it in
Maybe.
my, I feel it. Got this tingly feeling in my balls. And but until that happens, like I think Microsoft has a lot of runway this year to really make some headway. If the games deliver, like if Hellblade is good, if Avowed it doesn't come out with a bunch of problems, which I don't think it will. Usually Obsidian's pretty good about that stuff. But then like I just still feel like we're not getting those like like where's Gears, man?
Well, I think maybe Microsoft caught on to like people were making fun of them because all they put out was Halo, Gears, and Forza. So
Yeah, but we
they're like,
like
all right.
Gears.
I mean, I haven't played Gears since Gears 3.
Ah,
You know,
dude, you're missing out.
Gears stopped appealing to me, and I've always wanted to go back and play them, but I was one of those people that was like, okay, well, Microsoft is the Halo, Gears, and Forza developer, and Halo has been
They
dog shit
they
since Halo 3.
fucking royally fucked up Halo.
You know, and Gears isn't. I'm not a racing fan, and Gears isn't enough to get me an Xbox.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they've been putting out Gears games for the last decade, and the sales I think have gone steadily downhill since then. So, they have to take a different strategy here, and I think it's fine. I think Avowed's gonna be cool. My biggest question is like, where the fuck is Fable? What is happening to that game?
Do you really want Fable though?
I want Fable in the classic sense.
You're not
Whatever
getting
the whatever bullshit they showed at E3 or whatever it was, Summer Games Fest,
that.
can fuck right off, dude. That game looked horrible. Horrible. And it wasn't like horrible in the artistic way that Fable was. Like all the characters in the Fable games were ugly. The characters that they showed were like some new Gen
Yeah.
Z ass fucking hipster ass. Oh
I
god,
just
dude.
feel like they missed the assignment with Fable. Like I think
Yeah.
someone's like, "Hey, you're gonna make a new Fable game," and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna make a Fable game about fables." Like, no, 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 no.
No, no. This is a medieval fantasy game, please. This was like the OG Bethesda, not Bethesda, Microsoft RPG.
Yeah,
Like, man,
but that's the
it's
thing where I'm like getting frustrated with Microsoft. Like, start. I mean, I guess like with stuff like Avowed, you're developing an IP. Like, you got to massage some new IP. But like, get back to what you were doing. Like, you were known for just having great Western RPGs, good third person shooters and FPSs, and having a quality racing game. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with like those being your pillars. But like
I,
they routinely fuck them up.
I mean, at this point, dude, like we have to come to like a realization that Microsoft has been bad for as long as they were longer than they were good.
Yeah,
I mean, like when did the OG Xbox come out? 2003.
2000. I think 01 actually, maybe 02.
Right. Anyway, so they were good for like a decade, right?
Yeah,
And they've been shit for a decade.
yeah.
So maybe
It, it,
that Xbox just isn't around anymore, you know?
yeah, I'm just like, but my thing is like, what happened? Because like, I'm glad you kind of pointed out, their history. Because like when the Xbox first, they were new into the market. They were new, and looking back on it, the OG Xbox was a great system, great
Oh yeah,
fucking system.
100%.
Like,
That
it
that
had
that
great games.
system was gritty and it was cool and
Mhm.
it was innovative
And it had
and
fucking
it
great
was
games.
yeah, and it had great games, but
And then you go to the 360, which also had great games, and then always the knock on Microsoft was like, there's not enough JRPGs, and they were slowly starting to get there. And then just with like Xbox One, like what the fuck?
I don't know, man. I don't know what happened, but they fucked something up along the way. And if you hear them talking about it, it seems like they've given up trying to compete with Sony. So
No, I don't
I
think we
think
even get another box out of them.
maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know.
It'll just be Game Pass, which I think ultimately is what they want. Imagine like your app is everywhere. You have no overhead of manufacturing consoles.
I
Like,
will say that the Game Pass app works good. It's just that
yeah,
there's some sort of loss of value
there's too much shit on it.
for me with Game Pass. Um, because I'm not I think because I'm not putting any sort of monetary value into it really with the games.
Hmm.
I see no um like insistence to complete them. They're not a priority to me because
No.
and like for instance, I played probably, 40 hours of Dragon Quest 11 and just
Hmm.
never finished it. And that it was what it was.
Yeah. Yeah, I just feel like there's too many. I know this is like kind of like a super first world problem to have, but like there's just I feel like there's too many options. Like, oh, I downloaded 4 games on Game Pass and I'm gonna play none of them,
Yeah.
and that's the thing that sucks. Where maybe I don't want to say like more curation of Game Pass, where I feel like sometimes anything ends up on Game Pass, but I don't know. Maybe I don't know if having your exclusives day one on Game Pass is a great idea
Would argue that's a terrible idea.
because it just gives. I just feel, I don't know. Just like I just feel like it doesn't give me a reason like, oh, I need an Xbox. I'm like, oh well, I have a PC. I'll just play it on my PC. Like it's fine. I have Game Pass on my
Yeah.
PC. We're good. Like, so I'm just kind of like, I don't know, Microsoft. I and it sucks because I feel like definitely I was an OG Microsoft. I was in like day one on the Xbox. I was in,
Yeah, me too.
and 360 I wasn't in, but I got one later in the generation. But I went back home to Sony. But loved what I played on 360. I felt like the stuff they had that was exclusive for a time, like Mass Effect and Gears, Halo, Fable. I just felt like even Crackdown. I just felt like that you had your experiences that were system defining, and then they seem to have lost that.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but I'll be honest, dude. At this point, I'm tired of rooting for them when they're not
They do
even
nothing.
doing anything.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating because it's like, man, if you're not going to even try, then fuck off.
Right. Yeah. Kind of want to match their energy. Like if you don't care, I don't care, kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So
it's like because for a long time it was like, okay, well, we want Microsoft to do good, and it's like they didn't release fuck all in the Xbox One generation, dude.
no,
Nothing.
nothing.
It's like, all right, well, fine, fuck off
Yeah.
then.
Right. Yeah. I agree completely. And it sucks because like when Microsoft is good, it's better for all of us because that means
Hmm.
Sony's good.
Yeah,
Or Sony's like, yeah, we don't really have to do anything, really.
yeah.
Like they're just like, yeah, we just have to not be you. That's good.
100%.
Like
100%.
Jesus. Like think about it. All Sony put out last year was what? Spider Man.
Yeah, I guess. I can't remember anything else.
That's it. Spider Man. That's it.
Not ideal.
And they'll probably get away with that again this year. Because speaking of which, it's been very quiet on the Sony front, huh?
Yeah. Well, I think I think it ties into the same conversation, right? It's like, what do they have to, what rushes Sony in? Their backs aren't against the wall, you know? It's like they're taking their sweet time over there, and it's paying off for them. They're doing whatever they want. Who cares? Which I mean, I can see that being a thing, but it's like, all right, this sucks. I'm just not. I don't get excited for the current state of like the consoles at all anymore.
No.
You know, I've kind of tuned out of the video game news space where it's like, all right, well, I didn't even realize that Rebirth was so close until recently, which is why I'm playing Remake. It's like, all right, there's nothing exciting to me that's really happening anymore in the video game news space, because it's like these companies, we stopped with the console wars. Microsoft gave up. Nintendo's doing their own thing. Sony's beating everyone's ass, and it's like, all right, well, that's just how it is, I guess, because it's been that way for a decade now. So
Yeah, I feel like Nintendo is like that eccentric cousin that you kind of comes around on the holidays and you're just kind of like, I really like this guy, but he's family.
dude, I'm telling you, I would love it if the Switch 2 came out and it was just a powerhouse, just an
So
absolute beast.
so this kind of ties into both the topics come up here, because what do we have for predictions wise in 2024 for games? Like, what do we got?
Predictions wise, I don't know. I feel like we kind of know what's coming out, right? But I think the only thing that's worth predicting is, what is Nintendo's Switch successor going to look like? Because
Yeah,
supposedly it's coming out in 2024, so we've got to get an announcement of it sometime soon.
yeah, right.
And I'll be honest, I think it probably just looks like a beefier Switch.
Well, you got to complete. They got to compete with like the Steam Deck now.
Yeah, the
You
Steam Deck's
think,
eating their
right?
lunch. The Steam Deck's beating their ass, and by all reports, the successor to the Switch still isn't going to be as strong as the Steam Deck.
Jesus
So
Christ.
yeah, they're saying that the uh, new Switch is going to be about as powerful as like a PS4. So
Oh, they can't do that.
that's what is coming out. It's going to be
You know
about as
what? They
powerful as
can.
a PS4.
It'll be Switch now capable of HDR. Hooray!
So yeah, that's what's the rumor is, and the Steam Deck is such a good console, man. The Steam Deck's so
Yeah,
powerful, and it's so sleek and comfortable, and I mean, that is
yeah,
that is my Kaseki machine, and I'm having a blast with it. But it also does, it plays Switch games, and it does remote play into my PS5, and it's a little bit of everything. So you're gonna have a really hard time selling me on a Nintendo console when I have the Steam Deck, because as it stands now, the Steam Deck could probably emulate the new Switch console, you know,
mm,
and probably be fine because it emulates Switch just fine. And
yeah,
if this is just as powerful as a PS4, I wouldn't put it past the realm of possibility that the Steam Deck could run Nintendo games next year.
yeah. Now, so I've been thinking along about this. What do we want from Switch 2? It's definitely non-negotiable. It's got to be more powerful. Like, I don't think you can get away with PS4 powerful. I think you, because again, that's like 10-year-old tech at
Yeah,
that point. Like, I think it has to be at a minimum on par with a Steam Deck. But again, with Nintendo, they usually don't have expensive systems. Because what was
right.
Switch when it came out? 350,
I have
something
no
like that.
idea.
It wasn't
I should
400.
know. I bought 4 of them, so
Yeah, it was like, I think it was like 399 or something. No, or 299. So it had to have been, it was 350 or 299, one of the two. But it's, so price point's got to be important, but like you have to have performance in out of the system. I think so many games on Switch got held back because of how like limited the power on the Switch was.
mhm.
So either make the dock so when it's in docked mode it's beefier, or you got to have better hardware in there. Like, that's
So the Switch was
non-negotiable.
originally $300.
Yeah. So
99. Yeah, the dock thing is weird because I think that's what we always assumed, right? That the dock was
yeah.
going to make the Switch more powerful,
Mhm.
and it doesn't. It just allows you to play in 1080. So
Mhm. Yeah, so just like you have to have a bit more like if your rumor of PS4 powerful is true, I'm out. I'm like like that. That's not. I don't know. But then
Yeah,
secondly, backwards compatibility is not a non-negotiable. Has to be there.
that comes from a really well-regarded leaker, so he
Yeah,
seems to get a lot of shit right.
yeah. But yeah, backwards compatibility has to be there.
Yeah, I
Like I'm
agree.
staring at all these Switch games, and if you fucking kick me in the nuts, I'm gonna be mad.
Yeah,
Because that's what happened to Wii U owners. Like, remember you had a Wii U, like, oh, no, we have a Switch. Go fuck yourself.
listen, that's the Wii U owner's fault. Why the fuck were you buying a Wii U? Why were you playing a Wii U? Fuck off.
Yeah, but hey, that's
Hey,
where that's where you got your Nintendo games. But
no, dude,
moving
your
on,
Wii U being stolen was the best thing that happened to you.
I never replaced it. If that's a telling thing, like, you know what? I don't really feel a need to own this again.
That was a blessing in disguise.
You know, it's really funny. The game I own 2 Wii U games at this point because I got rid of the rest, and they're sealed. I own Tokyo Mirage Sessions
Mm,
and Xenoblade Chronicles X.
nice.
And because like I remember like all right, the RPGs are starting to come out now, so I had
Mm-hmm.
bought both of them, and then my Wii U got stolen. I was like, well,
In all seriousness, that's probably a good system to collect for. That's probably going to go sky
it's
high.
gonna skyrocket in price soon if it
Yeah,
already hasn't. Um, but I'm hoping like game wise that it's got a strong. I mean, I feel like this is kind of a stupid thing to say, but like it has to have a strong launch lineup. Like, what's gonna be there day one? Because think you already shot your load with Zelda, so there's no way we're getting a new Zelda game.
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that we get Metroid Prime, the new one. You know,
Yep. So Metroid Prime 4 at launch. You know what's weird? Metroid doesn't move systems. People love Metroid, but for some reason that franchise just does not sell units.
I don't know that people love Metroid. Like I've had people like, oh yeah, Metroid's pretty sweet. I've never heard anyone that's been like, I'm a Metroid fan. You know,
Uh,
like
I'm a pretty big Metroid fan. I love
Pedro,
Metroid
sure, yeah, sure. Me and you have never had a single conversation about Metroid,
because you don't like Metroid.
but it's never even come up in passing. You like I believe you that you like Metroid, right?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
When's the last time you played a fucking Metroid game?
Metroid Dread.
But that was the 3DS.
No, that came out on Switch.
I thought it was 3DS exclusive.
No, it's a Switch exclusive. Came out like 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, that was the side-scrolling one, right?
Yeah, it was sweet. And then
Yeah, it was
before that,
fine.
I played Metroid Samus Returns, and then before that, I we didn't really get a Metroid game until like I had Other M at launch.
Dude, listen, it's fine. Like
Listen,
like
well, I have no need to talk Metroid with you because you're not a Metroid guy.
I get it. I get it. We talk about a lot of stuff though, buddy. You know, fuck me in the ears with sports talk too. You know, and I'm not a fan of sports.
Why? Because I feel like you can understand sports, but I don't think you understand Metroid.
What? Oh, come on, that's ridiculous.
I think it's not true, but yeah, I
I think
mean,
it's I think it's safe to say you're a Metroid fan, and I would agree with that.
yeah, but I
But
just don't think it moves units.
why?
I don't know.
People love Metroid.
People talk shit about loving Metroid. It always I think it always sells like maybe 2 million units or some shit like that.
People love Metroid.
Yeah. Yeah, people love Metroid, but that'd be sweet to see it day one. I think we're gonna get a new 3D Mario though.
I mean that's like a given. I think there's always a Mario on release of new Nintendo consoles.
Well, so I think what the Switch launched with? I think it launched with
Odyssey.
Breath of the Wild. No, I think it launched with Breath of the Wild.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, it's
Or,
too soon for new Nintendo or for Nintendo to put out a new Zelda game. I wouldn't be surprised if you get Tears of the Kingdom, like a port of
that would be
Tears of the
smart.
Kingdom. Yeah, or we could just forget about Legend of Zelda for a while. I'd really appreciate that.
I So there are people who will defend Breath of the Wild till they're blue in the face.
I know.
So here's what Switch launched with. It launched to 1-2 Switch, Just Dance 2017,
Hell yeah, dude.
The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Skylanders,
Hell yeah.
Super Bomberman R.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that.
I love Super Bomberman R. I
I
actually
know. I was
so
just about to bring that up.
yeah. I bought my Switch with Breath of the Wild and Super Bomberman R, but it launched with I Am Setsuna,
Hmm.
which is which is like kind of a random launch game if you really think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Snipper Clips,
Never even heard of that game, I
yeah,
think.
Shovel Knight, and Fast RMX. So yeah,
Okay.
and then when did I know Mario Odyssey came out in 2017? I think it was like a launch window game. But yeah, that's not much as far as like launch games, but it moved fucking units. People love Mario.
People love Nintendo consoles in general.
There is something about them. They're kind of like, I don't know. There's something about a new Nintendo
Yeah, dude.
system coming out.
They're your favorite little pieces of shit.
They really are. You bought 4 of them.
Yeah.
Why do you keep coming back?
Because there's a specific game that I want to play each time. That's why. And then I'm like, why do I even have this after I beat it, you know?
Has it
Which is
been
kind of where I'm
Xenoblade
at
every
now.
time?
What?
Has it been Xenoblade every time?
No, the last time I bought them was no, never mind. I think it has been Xenoblade every time.
I'm pretty sure there's been 3 Xenoblade games. So I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So that's I don't know how you've bought 4 Switches. I've only bought 2, and the one I only got. The only reason I bought the second one is because it was the OLED. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna get an OLED and trade this one in.
The OLED's beautiful, by
Yeah,
the
I
way.
know.
That's gorgeous.
I know. That's so. I'm assuming the new Switch will be OLED, right? Like,
Again, not a
did you?
chance. Not a chance, dude. I don't think for a second that the new Switch is going to be an OLED.
Oh man, what about their online? Like they would have to fix the online, right?
Yeah, think again.
Do you remember? You remember what the original online plan was? It was like a phone
Yeah,
app.
yeah. Oh yeah, you're gonna like voice chat through the phone app,
Like
and you think this company is gonna fix their online system? No, no, bud.
it. So here's a funny thing, right? Like, do you remember Nintendo's like history with their online?
I mean, I
How
remember like friend
it's
codes on
yeah,
the DS and
it's
and
just
shit
been
like that.
always it's been always comically bad.
Yeah. Why can't we add people through usernames on the 3DS? You know what is that? Why was that a thing?
I
Hey,
don't
we're
know.
gonna give you a random 16-digit code that you're gonna have to share with your friends.
Dude, friend codes were the fucking worst. I remember like trying to play. This is when I had a Wii because for some reason when I was a teenager going online with the Wii was fun. To play Smash, of course,
Mm-hmm.
which ran like dog shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember playing with Adam, trying to add him with his friend code, and it just wouldn't like we just couldn't get it right because it was one of the most infuriating experiences ever. But then yeah, I remember when they launched this app, like, oh, use the Nintendo voice chat app, or like, why wouldn't I just call somebody or just use Discord?
Right. I don't know, man.
Like,
Not ideal in any shape or way. Nintendo, clown of a company. Go fuck yourself. Fix your stuff. Let's get to modern day standards. Let's make a beefy console. Come in, slap your dick on the table, look at Sony and say, "What's up, bitch? The king is back." That's what I want, dude. I love the GameCube. I
GameCube
do.
rule. I think
And
everyone loves the GameCube.
ever since they decided to start being wacky with their fucking dumb fucking Wii, all right,
Yeah,
things haven't been right. The gaming community hasn't been right. All right. You let
yeah,
Xbox and PlayStation rise up and make you a little bitch. Now it's time to step up, you know, lay the smack down on Game Freak, tell them to get it in order. Lay your dick out on the table and say, Papa's back. And it's
yeah.
time. It's time for some punishment. Been
Uh,
acting up.
yeah, because remember the GameCube was like actually by most standards like one of the more powerful systems of that generation. It was definitely more powerful than PS2, and it was
Was
like
it?
right up there.
I don't
Yeah,
remember.
right up. It was right up there with Xbox. And yeah, they then for some reason the GameCube just didn't sell, and Nintendo's like, oh, well, maybe graphics aren't everything, and that's the Nintendo we've been dealing with ever since.
Yeah, assholes.
Yeah, you know what's funny? If you look at it, Nintendo really hasn't won a generation since like the Super Nintendo.
Well, they kind of gave up for a while and started focusing on their portables because the Game Boy was such a hot success, and then the
Yeah,
DS was such a hot success. Right, they were killing it with the portables, so their
yeah,
home console really wasn't their priority. I don't think.
yeah, and that's they kind of gave up on that space, and then with Switch, they're like, oh yeah, we can do both, and I mean, Switch is sold well. I don't really know like what the numbers are, but I know it's sold well.
It's crazy. It's like 100 million,
Yeah,
a massive amount.
yeah. So that's pretty good. And you know, do they ever announce numbers,
Yeah, they do.
or is it just Xbox that just doesn't announce numbers because
It's
they're
just
embarrassed?
Xbox. It's Xbox.
But you know what's crazy about Nintendo? I just feel like anytime somebody tries to come into the handheld space and compete with them, they fucking kill them.
Nintendo Switch is the third best selling console of all time with 132 million units.
Jesus Christ, that's a lot of Switches.
Yeah.
So that's a massive. Okay, so that's a massive install base. So again, when I said backwards compatibility has to be in there. Could you imagine this thing with no backwards compat?
Yes.
And there's 130 million Switches out there.
Yes, I could, Pedro. It's Nintendo. Yes, I can. I can imagine that.
Oh man, no, I would definitely be in for a heel turn from Nintendo. Like, Daddy's back.
Yeah, I
I don't
think
know
that'd be
how they'd
awesome.
be back. I don't know what. So what would they have to do besides fixing their stuff? Like, what games would they have to bring for you to be like, oh shit, Daddy's home?
Yeah, it's pretty easy, dude. They buy Sega.
Ooh.
They're like, hey, the OGs are back, right?
Did they team up?
Yeah,
You know how funny that would be.
it'd be fucking awesome, dude.
Oh man, that would be awesome. I,
It's like a show where season 2 they got a new cast, but then the main protagonist of the first season shows back up, and it's like, what's up? Shit like that's
that would
always
be
awesome.
that would be awesome. But I have a sneaking suspicion that Sega is going to get bought by Microsoft at some point.
Yeah, sounds right.
But we're mad at Sega right now. We'll get into why later in the show. All right. So we've approached that time where we got to take a dive into the underbelly. We got to go into the dark world. So I was kind of thinking, and we kind of touched base on this as we were talking about Nintendo, but just like you ever look back on eras of gaming and think, man, that was fucking weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's weird. So for you, what is a weird era of gaming?
The Honestly, the PS2 generation is a weird
Okay.
era of gaming.
Now, why do you say
Like,
that?
wait, weird for us or weird in like the actual space?
I think weird for us because I I kind of want to do more stuff when we were boots on the ground, like when we were
Okay,
there for
yeah.
it.
So weird. That's where I was at. Weird for me with the PS2, GameCube, Xbox generation was because um there wasn't really. I had to like. I really wanted to play video games, but there wasn't any RPGs for me around that at that time. So I had to branch out into like a whole bunch of other stuff. Like that. I was playing like a lot of Grand Theft Auto, Dragon Ball, stuff like that, and
Yeah,
I just if the RPGs that were there, I couldn't find them. So
yeah. What happened to you in the PS2 era, buddy? Because the
I don't
RPGs
know.
were there.
Yeah, they kind of are. I mean, I remember playing Tales of Symphonia on the GameCube and really
Yeah,
enjoying it, and
good stuff.
Fable, of course, on the Xbox.
Uh
But
huh.
that was a big like Halo generation for me,
Hmm.
and I don't know. Obviously, Final Fantasy X I played, but
Yeah.
other than that, dude, like there really wasn't a whole lot of RPG going on. I played a lot of PS1 RPGs in that era. Still.
Wow. So I remember the PS2 generation so differently than you
Hmm.
because, like, for me, the RPGs were there. That's when Daddy discovered Star Ocean. So my first Star Ocean game was Till the End of Time,
Hmm.
which is a great Star Ocean game. Then I discovered the Grandia series, which ironically my first Grandia game was Grandia 3,
Hmm.
which was a fucking great RPG. Great fucking RPG.
I've always heard
Um,
Grandia 2 is the best one, but I've never
it is.
played them.
Grandia 2 is real good, but Grandia 3 for me is chef's kiss. Uh, that's when I discovered Digital Devil Saga and Nocturne. I'm trying to think what else. Dot Hack, Xenosaga. Like there was so many games that like so many RPGs. Suikoden, like Suikoden 3 and 4 and 5 were great.
I wasn't even introduced to the Shin Megami series until after I graduated high school and started working at GameStop.
So basically, Persona.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Persona 3 is my first Shin Megami game.
it was a Persona game. Don't do that. Let's not do that.
It
Don't
still
do
says Shin Megami Tensei on it.
that. Don't do that. Don't do
And then
that.
I also played Nocturne.
And then you realize how much you hated life.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't like the abstract storytelling in the mainline Shin Megami line. It doesn't resonate with me.
I will say those games, story wise, are very predictable. It's either law, chaos, or neutral. That's it.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see which paths are. That's I don't know. That's a rabbit hole we don't need to get into. But I just feel like I don't know, that PS2 generation was. I feel like that was a really good generation though. Like,
I
because
mean,
even on
I
the
don't think it was bad. It was just weird for me because I'm an RPG guy and I really
yeah
didn't play any RPGs around that time because I didn't have access to them.
yeah they weren't on your radar.
No, they weren't on my radar, and that I wasn't on the internet much then. So I was like, you know, where are the RPGs?
You know who I
Um,
blame? I blame Robert. This is his fault.
I actually did have a friend um, that had these RPGs, but I never got to play them or anything. I remember he talked up Grandia and Star Ocean.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, those and even on GameCube, like Tales of Symphonia, Skies of Arcadia came to the GameCube.
mhm.
One game that was on my radar, but I never got my hands on it, never got my grubby little mitts on it, was Baiten Kaitos.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, never got that.
I was in on the remaster until I found out that's a card game. Did you know that was a card
Yeah.
game?
Hmm? Well,
No,
one of
I'm
them
good
is.
on that.
I think one of them is. I think the other one. One of them is. One of them isn't. I forget. But anyway, they also Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. Well, you're not a Fire Emblem guy, are you? No. No. Okay. I'm trying to think what other RPGs were there.
I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there wasn't RPGs. I'm saying
For
in
you, there
my
were. Yeah.
life, I did not come across them. You know, like there's Dark Cloud and Dark Cloud 2 and Rogue Galaxy.
Yeah.
You know, all that shit that's good. You know, we already talked about the Shin Megami games, Persona 3
Yeah.
and 4, and it's like there is a lot. It's just I did not come across them. They weren't on my radar. I didn't even know about a lot of these games until like years later. So
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So for me, there's two eras that I think are really strange. One we were too young for, but we were there, but we were too young. And then the other one, I just feel like that was a fucking not a great generation. Now that I look back on it, so that so like kind of like the middle of the PS3, Xbox 360 generation, I feel like was a real shit time in gaming.
the
Where
middle of it,
maybe early late or early middle, like kind of when we were approaching like 2008, 2009, 2010.
okay.
Like I feel like that era where like I really feel like there weren't any JRPGs there much
Oh yeah,
at
for sure.
all. Like I felt like the JRPG was dead. And then like games like I don't know, games all these games were like these muddy chest high walls. Like everything was trying to be either Gears of War or fucking like
Sure.
I don't know. Yeah, I just felt like that generation that era of the generation. Then touch controls or motion controls were coming in. Remember, we got Kinect and the
Hmm.
fucking Wii, and then the PlayStation Move, like. Then the PS the 3D that's when like 3D technology was starting to become in, like 3D TVs and games were designed to be in 3D. Like I just feel like that was like a weird part of that generation. Like we hadn't gotten The Last of Us yet. Like Uncharted wasn't big like it is now.
When I think of 3D, it's really funny because I don't. The only person I ever knew that really embraced the 3D was Elijah, and I hate 3D, dude. Like it always gives me a headache. It always hurts my eyes. I've never enjoyed anything I've ever done in 3D. And I don't know a single other person in my life that was like, hell yeah, 3D's awesome.
No.
Everyone else thought it was like a stupid gimmick. But
Yeah.
they really pushed for 3D for like a long time until they finally
Yeah.
gave up on it.
Yeah. I just felt like it was just weird fucking time where like what was the onus to think like, okay, gamers, what they want is they want a 3D TV, they want to wear 3D glasses when they play video games.
Yeah.
Like, what were you thinking?
Um the one thing about that 3D TV that was cool though
Split screen.
was the split screen technology that I've never seen recreated. Because if people remember correctly, there was a weird way, like the glasses had two phases on them, where one person could see one whole screen, and the other person, if they were in like phase two, could see the whole screen but a different picture. And I
Yeah.
think that I don't know if any games ever utilized that
No.
really,
Mm-mm.
but that was like a really
That's,
cool feature.
yeah, that was that cool PlayStation TV that I
Hmm.
wish I would have bought one when they were cheap because now they're like pretty expensive because they're a collector's item.
Yeah, I know Elijah had one, but Elijah never took care of any of his stuff, and it's like all scratched up, dude. That dude's Vita was criminal. He never put a screen protector on it, and like that thing was scratched to absolute fuck. And he was like, I don't like the way screen protectors look. And I'm like, dude,
Fuck, dude. Like, well,
your fucking Vita is fucked, man.
wow. Shout out
Yeah.
Elijah. Take care of your stuff, buddy. Jesus. Um. Then so here's the other era in gaming. Oh no, but real quick, like back to that other thing. We were getting games like Haze. Like remember Haze?
I do remember Haze. Never
It was
played
supposed
it.
to be like the Halo killer.
Yeah, never played it.
LOL. Or games like that was when like Dark Sector came out. Remember Dark Sector? Where the guy it looked like Gears. The guy had the glaive.
Yeah, yeah, it was like a three bladed thing that he
Yeah.
would. It was like a very vertical game. I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Prince of Persia, where like that was that like cell shaded one that we got. That
Yes,
remember?
dude.
Yeah,
Yeah, the 2008 Prince of Persia. I loved that game, and they
yeah.
left it on a cliffhanger, and then
I
it
just never
pissed me
finished it.
off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, and I just oh man, like, and then again, it's the lack of RPGs. I remember like we were so thirsty for RPGs. Like people when Eternal Sonata came out, people were like, "Oh, this is fucking great." And not that it's a bad game, not that it's a bad game, but like we were hurting.
Yeah, I feel like the Japanese game space had a really hard time transitioning into HD. At least that's what happened with Final Fantasy 13.
Yeah,
And I wish I knew exactly the name of it, but someone did a really great documentary on the development of Final Fantasy 13 and how much bullshit that game went through. Dude, did you know that it was originally supposed to be a PS2 game?
yeah,
And it like completely got fucked up. And they had a really hard time transitioning into 3D. But what's amazing about Final Fantasy 13
that
is
game still looks great today.
it has aged beautifully. I mean, that has to be the most beautiful game of that generation, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh my god. Yeah.
it's not even close, and it didn't even come out close to the end of the generation. It came out in
No, it
like
was like
what 2010.
yeah.
Square Enix did amazing work with Final Fantasy 13. Unfortunately, terrible with their writing, but their like graphics and arguably their gameplay as well. I think it did phenomenal. You know.
Yeah. I you know what's weird because like a lot of people shit on the 13 series. I've never. I've actually never beaten any of them, but um, I've always stood by like the graphically that game looks fucking incredible to this day. Looks really good.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking with their writing. I don't like 13, but I really liked 13 too, and Lightning Returns.
Yeah, I don't know. I Lightning just kind of reminded me of Cloud or the Vagina, kind of really kind of the vibes I got there. But
Yeah, I'd say more like Squall. She's
uh,
more edgy, like Squall. Cloud's just a mentally broken person. It's
so
not
she
Lightning.
so Lightning Squall with a penis.
Yeah.
Hey, no, I'm kidding. Uh, but yeah, I just felt like that was a weird gen for like. I just there's so many just things that were just trying and like remember online only games where like Warhawk came out that was online
Oh
only
yeah,
and fucking SOCOM like
Mag.
Mag massive action game. Yeah,
Yep.
like they were just doing remember PlayStation Home.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, it's just like what are we doing? Like it just didn't make it. Or even with Xbox, like you had the avatars and all that. Like it was so weird. I speaking of that, I had a buddy boot up an Xbox recently, like an old
Hmm.
360, and the blades were still on it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, you can't update this. Do not update it.
Keep it sacred forever.
Yeah, and I just feel like I don't know. That's when or remember when the PS3 got the redesign?
You mean like the actual console redesign?
Yeah, the slim.
I like the slim PS3, dude.
I'm a super slim guy, but I like that slim too.
You're a super slim guy? That's disgusting, Pedro.
I'm staring at my super slim right now.
God,
What's wrong with the super slim?
that's a piece of trash.
What's wrong with it?
It's a light, flimsy shit box.
It's almost like it's super slim.
I like I still have my OG PS3 from like 2006 and it still works. So slow. That console has it needs a new hard drive or something.
Yeah,
But I really always liked the slim PS3. I thought that it was hefty, it was heavy, it was a
I
big
never liked the
big
look of
black
it.
box.
I like
That
the
was
OG
good.
PS3 with the Spider-Man lettering. Loved that.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
But you know what's funny? Speaking of that system, right? So I remember when like 360 owners were getting the red ring of death.
Yeah.
I was like, that won't catch that happening on a Sony system. And all of a sudden, I on the internet I read about yellow lighted death. I'm like, what is this? And then my system yellow lighted twice.
I mean, like nothing ever has happened like the Xbox Red Ring, right? But like every console is gonna have a failure
Yeah,
rate at some point.
yeah,
And yeah, everyone's like, "Oh, the PS3 yellow." It's like, no, 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 dude. The Xbox 360's failure rate was like above
high.
50%.
Yeah, it was
You know,
high.
it's not the same in any way. You know, it was like the PS4 had like the blue light of death, I think, or something like that. And I'm like, all right, shut up, dude. Like the PS4's fail rate is really low. Um, and the Xbox 360's red ring was over 50%. So let's not pretend like they're the same thing. Like people like to do that all the time. It's like no no no
Yeah,
no no no
yeah,
no.
dude. I that was again that's that generation where like remember fail rates were a thing. Like I never even knew fail rates in a system were a thing.
And the Xbox 360 sold a lot of consoles, and I have to wonder how many of those consoles
A
were
brick.
people that got the red ring of death had to buy another one. You know,
Yeah,
that's a conversation you need to have when talking about the Xbox 360.
fucking my buddy Adam, his 360. He still his still has never yellow lighted.
It's pretty sweet.
I'm like, dude, don't even turn it on. Just don't.
I like the 360 redesign, the
Yeah,
smaller one.
I love that.
And one of my favorite consoles of all time is I think it was the Halo 4 Special Edition Xbox
Yeah, that
360.
was a sweet system. My buddy
Yeah, it
Matt had
was.
it.
Yep. We had it at Elite Games for a while.
Yeah, at which store?
Williamsport.
Oh, because we had one that So my buddy had bought one from Elite, and then he's like sold it. He like had Nate fucking listed on eBay for him. So I was wondering if
Yeah.
that was the same. That was
Nope.
the
It
same Elite.
had we got one traded in. It was the whole bundle. It had 2 controllers in the bundle,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
that fuckbag Darren sold one of the controllers by itself. So it was no
No.
longer the whole bundle. And I was like bitching. It's like, well, it's still a sale, man. And I'm like, no, 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 like, but like you ruined it. Like you fucked it up. I hate that guy, dude. That guy's such a stupid idiot.
Oh God! Shout out Darren Keithley for being an
Yeah,
idiot.
shout out to Darren Keith. Roll up on me. Get these hands.
Hey, that guy. That fucking guy. Uh, but the other generation that I feel like was weird because we grew up. Like, were you? Did you have a Sega Genesis? Were you able to remember that period?
Yeah, dude.
Okay, so what's your earliest memory of playing that system?
Buying it at a yard sale.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
You bought it at a yard sale.
yeah. But the craziest thing was we got it at a yard sale, but it was not like it was not outdated. Like we got the Sega Genesis at a yard sale. I think when the PS1 was around.
So okay,
Um,
so the
so
'90s. Yeah.
yeah. And I got the 6-pack with it,
Ooh,
and
that's yeah.
I pretended for a really long time that Golden Sun was a fun game.
Golden Axe.
Yep. I'm sorry. Yeah, Golden Axe. Golden Sun is a fun game.
Yeah.
Really like Streets of Rage and Sonic the Hedgehog. So
Mhm.
that's pretty much my experience with the Sega Genesis. Not really anything else.
Yeah. So my experience with the Sega Genesis is probably similar to you, like playing Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic 2, Sonic 3. I got mine for Christmas with Vector Man.
Hmm.
Yeah, which till this day I've never beaten that game. Which that's going to change soon though. But I feel like, and this is going to be crazy. I feel like we missed a generation in the '90s
Why?
because I've been doing this deep dive into the retro gaming community, like this deep dive. We're like just kind of watching YouTube videos, running stuff on emulators, checking stuff out, just kind of getting boots on the ground in there. And
Okay.
what I'm noticing is we, and I think we kind of dodged the bullet here, but we were too young to like be there for when like the systems to buy were like the 3DO, the Atari Jaguar, the Sega CD, Turbo CD, like this weird era of games where it was like a lot of FMV games.
Yeah, I never played any of the
No,
FMV shit. I
no,
mean, I probably wouldn't anyway because it doesn't appeal to me. But
no, but like, could you, like, I'm just like thinking, like I watched a Happy Console Gamer video the other day where he was talking about like he got a 3DO for Christmas and he got it with like Street Fighter, like the Turbo Edition, and in order to play like two players, you had to like daisy chain the controllers, where it had one controller port on in the front, and then the second player controller port was on the controller one.
hmm, I think I remember that. I think I
Yeah,
remember that. But yeah, I never
yeah.
played any of that shit at all.
No,
I was all in on the PlayStation at that point.
well, here's the thing. Like, I don't even remember hearing about it. Like as a kid, like I don't
No, me
remember.
either.
Like, and that's what's weird. Like, I feel like not that we wanted one or would have asked for one for Christmas by any stretch, because I don't think we knew any better. But literally for years, like all I remember, of that era was like you either had a Sega Genesis or a Super Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
But like I always heard of somebody I always knew of the Turbo Graphics. I always knew what it was, but I've still to this day I've only seen one in the wild, like ever, like physically once. Um, but like I always felt like with the Turbo, you knew a guy who knew a guy whose cousin knew a guy like who had this Turbo Graphics, like which again I never
It's
knew it was.
crazy because I think the TurboGrafx sold better than you think it did.
It sold really well in Japan, but
Yeah, I forget. Yeah, the TurboGrafx sold better than the Sega Saturn.
which is wild because like, and we'll get into that here in a second because sometimes sometimes when you put that Christmas list on there and your parents avoid your parents or whoever's buying the systems avoids you an L, but um but yeah, I just never knew anybody who had one. And then I remember hearing about this thing called the Neo Geo, which I didn't know at the time. Like um Neo Geo was basically like a home port of like all the Neo Geo games. It was basically like a home arcade system. And
Mm-hmm.
it was basically a video game system for rich people.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about the 3DO that's fascinating to me. Like, you know, that thing launched at $700.
No, that's crazy.
Like,
That's nuts. That's a lot of money, especially back
yeah,
then.
right. Like, and the reason I bring this up, why it's weird, is because like, was that like a good era of gaming? Like, you never really hear any of the OGs talking about, oh, I got my fucking Atari Jaguar and I was fucking stoked.
Well, I mean, like, listen, these consoles went to shit because they had bad games and like bad
Yeah,
experiences on them, right? So that's why no one's ever stoked to talk about any of this shit. And
yeah,
there's a reason these things failed, you know, and it's there's a reason these companies don't make consoles anymore.
right,
The Atari Jaguar was fucking trash, and you
yeah.
know what, dude? I'm gonna say this, and it's gonna hurt you, but you need to accept it. It's time to acknowledge that all Sega has been trash as well.
That hurts.
Yep.
That hurts me deeply.
And it's time. It's time to realize they've had some good games here and there. Sega's the classic Sega is a myth.
Classic Sega's dead, buddy. Like they're dead and
Yeah.
gone.
They were dead and gone as soon as Nintendo stepped up to the plate and hit a home run.
Eh. Listen, I still will argue Genesis and was their best system clearly, but
Yeah, dude.
and I loved my Dreamcast, but yeah, they died for a reason. But the funny thing about Sega, and again that just that weird era of gaming, when you made your Christmas list, did you know to ask for a PlayStation?
No, actually, I traded my PlayStation with my brother. He wanted the Super Nintendo. He gave me my first PlayStation because he wanted the Super Nintendo.
Interesting. That's that's kind of a bad trade for him, but
Yeah, that's what he wanted. He want because he was in college and he had a PlayStation somehow, and he was like, you know, I want a Super Nintendo. Would you want to trade? And I was like, yeah. I didn't even know any better. You know, I was a little kid. I was just playing, you know, whatever I had.
okay. So here's the funny story about me, right? So little Pedro, Sega kid growing up. I asked for a Saturn for Christmas.
Sorry for your luck, dude.
Well, no, it was a stroke of luck. I actually got so I asked for a Saturn, like I forget what Christmas it was, but I ended up getting the N64 instead with like Diddy Kong Racing and some other random game. Which
That worked out in your favor.
yeah, and then the following Christmas I asked for a Saturn again, and we got a PlayStation.
Nice.
So somebody, I kind of want to figure out who was the mastermind of all this because I'm pretty sure I know who it is in my family who figured this out.
Someone was looking out for you.
Yeah, and I need to know who because like I own a Saturn now clearly and I love it, but let's not be stupid here. Like the Saturn died for a reason, but I'm just like I'm just like thinking about like I sometimes like sit there and think like, okay, what would life have been like had I gotten that Saturn for Christmas, right? Like would I have been happy?
No, you probably wouldn't be a video game fan.
No, like I'm trying to think of like what I'm trying to realistically think of what I would have played. So I try not to sit here and be full of shit. So I probably would have gotten all the Sonic games. I would have gotten Sonic R and Sonic 3D Blast, but like or even Sonic Jam. But there was no true Sonic game for the system, right?
Yeah.
I fucking hate Nights in the Dreams. Like,
Yeah, I remember. I think you remember you playing that. And you're
the
like,
game's
this
just a piece of
sucks.
the game's a piece of shit. And then I'm sitting there like, okay, like I was too young for RPGs, so like you would have given me Panzer Dragoon Saga, I would have been like, what the fuck is this? Or you would have given me like Shining for any of those RPGs, I wouldn't have liked because I was too young.
Didn't you say like Panzer Dragoon Saga isn't even like a real RPG?
Yeah, it's not. It's like it's a shooter with like RPG elements. Personally,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a weird game. I've never played all the way through it, but yeah, but yeah, I'm just sitting there thinking like I probably wouldn't have like I don't think I would have been a video game fan because like I imagine not playing The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Imagine not playing fucking Crash and um no, I was too young for Metal Gear. I didn't play Metal Gear until I was like 12. But I remember watching my Uncle John play Metal Gear and watching him play Resident Evil, and that's scaring the ever living shit out of me. because that was the thing back in the day. You had to play Resident Evil with the lights off.
Silent Hill's one that scared the shit out of me.
I never
Personally.
played Silent Hill as a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then so it's weird when you look back on it. Like, I want to talk to a kid who got like a fucking Jaguar on Christmas. Like, I want to talk to that kid. Like, what was life like for you? Like, what was the killer app?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so that's it, I just think like to think about like being on the wrong side of fucking gaming history. Where you're just like, because I'm trying to think like, if is there any generation that you can remember that like you would have taken an L on Christmas besides that generation?
I mean, yeah, like a lot of generations before that one. You know, like
Like, what do you
there's
mean?
a lot of there's a lot of L's to take, especially with Sega consoles.
No, see, I don't think you would have taken. So if you got a Genesis for Christmas, I don't think that's an L.
That's probably the only time, Pedro.
Uh, what?
What if you got the Sega SG-1000?
Oh, so a Master System?
Nope,
That's what that
that's
is.
not
Yes,
the
that's what it is. It's a Sega Master System.
Master System came out in 1989. The Sega SG-1000 came out in
Okay.
1983.
Yeah, so it was the first iteration of the Master System.
It is
So,
a beautiful hunk of shit.
I don't know because, hmm, I probably I don't know because here's my issue with that system, right? Uh, you ever seen like the box art for Master System games? It's like fucking clip art.
Listen, dude, these are your boys. You said
Yeah.
there's no way that like you could lose a different generation. I'm proving to you the fucking Sega has always been a piece of shit.
So, hmm, I don't know the Master System library that well, but I don't know if I
Yeah,
would
what
call.
library, dude?
There's a shit ton of games for that system, but that's I'm gonna have to be real here. So I think getting a Master System and not getting an NES probably an L.
Yeah, I know, dude.
Because I mean, besides, I'm trying to think of like what were the good Master System games? Because like I hate Alex Kidd. Like I fucking can't stand Alex Kidd. It's the worst fucking game ever. But like if you were a Shinobi guy, I guess like you were in there. If you knew RPGs, you could get Ys. Yeah. Huh?
I think it's quite possible, right, that there's an even bigger L to take, which would have been the Atari 7800.
Yeah, that's an L.
You know,
And if you didn't get an NES, you got an Atari. That's an L.
yeah, it's like okay, this is the game that fucking you know,
The system that crashed the market.
yeah. So
Or see, I don't know any. We don't know anyone old enough. Wait, actually, don't you? Isn't Coach old enough that he would know?
probably.
Yeah, yeah. Ask him about it. Like, hey, was that Nell? Did you have an Atari? Yeah. Oh, I'm trying to think what the other one is. Or, hmm. Yeah, I feel like in the '80s, if you didn't have an NES, that was an L. I'm gonna be honest with
Yeah.
you.
Or how about this? How about if you got a Game Gear instead of a Game Boy?
Ooh, it's it's an L. We'll call it an L. But the Game Gear had better tech. Like you had a backlit screen.
Sure, it had
It was a
8
portable Master
fucking
System.
batteries.
But see, if you got a Nomad instead of a Game Boy, it was a dub.
I had a Game Gear.
Yeah. Game Gear was okay.
I don't even know what happened to my Game Gear.
I don't know. I had a Game Boy.
I had a Game Boy too. I had the clear purple one.
Same here. Yeah, we see Christmas time. That was the time where you couldn't fuck around. Like you had to get it right.
Yeah, you had to get your shit right. Yeah.
Yeah. So like when I saw because I had an option to get a Game Gear, and I was like, again, this is young Pedro here. There weren't any games on there I wanted. I think like the bundles that were. I remember this in the magazine. Like the bundles were like, oh, you can get a Game Gear with like Shining Force and was it Sonic Race or Sonic Drift or some shit like that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I remember like, what is a Shining Force? Oh wait, I can get a Game Boy with Mario Land. I'm in. Or how about the kids who got Atari Lynxes?
Would you believe that the Game & Watch sold more than the Nintendo 64?
What, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Sold more than the Sega Genesis too.
How much did it sell?
43 million.
Game and Watches.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually insane.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow!
Right
All right.
below the Super NES.
I feel like I watch a lot of videos like where they debate this, like what was better, Sega Genesis or Super Nintendo.
There's no debate, dude. There's no debate. Listen, dude. It's fine. Like Sega Genesis was their best work. There's no debate though. Sega got beat the fuck up. It's fine.
Okay, so we're all right, we're gonna do this. So here's the reason why they got beat up, right? Is because they started doing stupid shit.
Yeah, no fuck. That's why everyone gets beat up. All right.
So like, do you realize at the time, right? So the Super Nintendo, so the Genesis had like a 2-year lead or a year lead on the Super Nintendo, and that's when they had the cool marketing campaign. Genesis does what Nintendo don't,
Mm-hmm.
all that good shit. That was fun stuff. And then they're like, you know what we need? Let's add a CD add-on. So they come they come out with the Sega CD,
Right.
which is while it has some fun games on it, it's a piece of shit. Terrible fucking add-on. Where
Yes.
like so games like Sonic CD could have been just Sonic CD could have been a Genesis game. The Lunar games probably could have just been Sega games. But no, they had to be Sega CD games.
Yes.
So like that's three banger games right there off your system because you got to buy the $300 add-on. Like, no, don't do that. Then they're like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna make the Sega 32X.
32X is sweet though.
Yeah, but it's a piece of shit.
It's
So
like this giant attachment you put in your slot to give you like a
yeah,
bigger slot. Yeah, pretty
yeah,
sweet.
it's a piece of shit, dude. You ever seen like what it looks like, the Tower of Power, where it's the 32X, the fucking Sega's and the Sega CD? It's terrible.
Yes.
Like, and if and you needed like 3 plugs for that fucking thing.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, that's fucking bullshit. Like, where just the Super Nintendo, you just needed the Super Nintendo, and you would get games like Mario Kart, Metroid, Mario World, all the RPGs. So it's just like it was simpler to own a Super Nintendo,
Yes.
which is simpler. So
But also, Sega CD on this list that I'm looking at is listed differently than the Sega Genesis.
yeah, because it's considered a different system.
Yeah. Are you aware how badly the Sega Genesis was outsold?
No, I never looked at the numbers.
Okay, 20 million.
They lost by
Right.
20.
The Sega Genesis sold 30 million. The SNES sold 50 million. It wasn't as close as people even think about it in their memories. Like they sold them by like 60 to 75%, however much that is.
Mm-hmm.
Beat their ass into the ground. I don't even like Nintendo. But looking back on it, dude, like it's not even a competition.
That was Savage and Nintendo back in the day. That's what it was. But then but it's funny because that's when they created their mortal enemy.
The PlayStation. Thought they were hot shit. They thought they were hot shit. Oh, we're gonna take advantage of this stupid TV company.
I actually love that story that the PlayStation really only exists as a big fuck you to Nintendo.
Yeah.
That's like the ultimate like Japanese like, yo, we lost our honor. Fuck these guys.
Yeah. Like, all right, time to fight, bud.
All right. So now moving on. So you said your first memory is with a Sega Genesis.
Not my first gaming memory. My first gaming memory is
Yeah,
with Super Nintendo.
All right. So talk to me. Walk me through that. Little Sethy boy. What was he playing?
Super Mario. I was playing it with my sister. She was a big Mario fan for some reason. I don't remember it. This is the only time I ever remember her playing video games. But she was like really in on the Super Nintendo with Mario, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Like Super Mario World, especially, like she was just really in on that, and we got really far. I remember. I was never good at it because, newsflash, like to this day, I'm still not good at Mario.
Dude, you were bad. You were like fucking tragically bad at platformers.
Yes, they are my nightmare. Um, so
Okay.
that's
Now,
currently what gave me Mary.
now, how do you? So, when do you feel like gaming got its hooks into you? When was the moment?
It was then, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was then. I remember I had a blast, and even when I was dumb enough to believe that like Sonic the Hedgehog was a good video game, um, I was playing the shit out of that too. So
Yeah. So, so okay. For me, so we had a Super Nintendo growing up, right? We had that, and growing up with my sister, ironically enough, she would always hog the Super Nintendo, like all the time. Like and she would always be either playing Mario or The Legend of Zelda. That was the two games we had, and so it was either that
sure.
or one or the other. So I remember I never really got to play it because it was either we play 2 player and I was stuck being Luigi, and she would be fucking playing for hours because she would never, for some reason, she was like insanely good at the game, and she would just never die. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of over this. I'm not playing, and I would just walk away and go watch fucking cartoons. But then I remember this magical moment at Toys R Us, and I see this fucking sleek black system, and it was playing fucking Sonic the Hedgehog, and I just remember playing it, and I'm like, oh, this is fun. Then we
Blast
walked away.
processing.
Yeah, blast processing, baby. And then we walked away. I was like, okay, that was cool. And then I remember opening it up on Christmas. I'm like, oh shit, I got a Sega Genesis without
Oh
Sonic,
yeah.
um, but I remember like nobody wanted to play the Genesis for some reason. Maybe you know, maybe I was the only one who thought it was good. But I remember just being able to play as much Sega Genesis as I fucking wanted, and I finally got my own TV in my own room, dude. So I was playing like that's when I started playing Vector Man, and that's when I started playing fucking the other game I got with it was later in that day for my aunt, which because I remember I opened it with no Sonic. I'm like, well, this sucks. And then I got Sonic 2 from her, and dude, so I just remember playing the shit out of that. And I remember the first time when I beat Sonic 2, I was like, yo, I love video games. And then like my birthday came and I got Sonic 3. And then Christmas came and I got Sonic and Knuckles. I was like, yo, this is fucking awesome. Um, but yeah, like so when it got its hooks into me, I just remember like just for some reason being obsessed with like beating games. Like, yo, when you buy a game, you gotta beat the game. Gotta beat the game. Where now, look, if you have a fucking shelf of games you've probably never beaten before.
Yeah, yeah, and that problem still exists.
Yeah. So it's just funny to look when you look back on that and you look. But one game I specifically wanted to talk about because I have a memory with this game, and I finally recently beat it. Was Wonder Boy in Monster World.
Never played it.
Now it's like a Metroidvania for the Sega Genesis, but with RPG elements. Now I won't spend too long on the game because like it's a 2D action RPG, but this game has some bullshit in it, and with these old retro games, right? How they're designed to be hard or designed to be challenging.
Yeah,
This game has some of the most bullshit jumps you have to make that are like infuriating. It'll have you like cursing at your fucking TV.
like
And
sort of like Crash Bandicoot
yeah,
with
but
the
like
Infinity
so,
Bridge or whatever.
but there was this one area of the game where you have to jump, and when you jump, the platform moves up with you. So you have to like jump to another platform, have it move. Like they're
Mm.
really precise jumps. And I was sitting there playing it. It was like 3 weeks ago. I thought I was gonna snap my controller, dude. Like because like it was so frustrating. And these are these games that like for some reason I love them, but they don't really have stories. I don't
Yeah,
know how to
I
describe
don't know
it.
anything about it.
Well, no, like so like you played the original like Legend of Zelda or at least Link to the Past, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's like one of those games that like it's not it doesn't really have a story. Like it has a story, but not really. But it's like what about those games are so appealing?
I, I don't know.
It's
I was never a Legend of Zelda fan, to be honest with you. I never played the Legend of Zelda games. I think the first Legend of Zelda game I played was like I didn't even play Ocarina of Time. I think the first Legend of Zelda game I played
wow.
was Twilight Princess.
All right, I can allow that. That's a good game. But again, that game doesn't really have like it has a story, but it's like not
Yeah,
like I don't know if I would write home about it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But for some reason, like going to these dungeons and finding items, I don't know what it is. It just has this like I don't know if it just releases dopamine into my fucking brain or what.
No, you kind of
But
made. I mean, at least for me, I made the story up when I was a kid in my head. Like it's like what
oh,
was going on. You know, I kind of like like filled in the gaps.
mm. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like these games like they give you a sense of scale when you have to go to like all these different levels. Like maybe that's what it is. Because I found the same thing when I played the original East Book 1 and 2. That
Mm,
like there's not really a like East games don't really have like they have stories, but like not really. But again, it's just like when you go to these different areas and you explore and do all the finding items, and I don't know. I just for some reason I feel like those games really speak to me in a way. But yeah. So I recommend playing if you're a Genesis fan. Check out Wonder Boy Monster World. I played it on the Sega Genesis Classics collection, which the more I play that and the more I emulate, I'm all for emulation. Because like beating some of these games without save states, I think is really hard.
yeah, because they're like ridiculously hard.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's our little Wonder Boy and Monster World review. Check it out. So moving on to misconducts, buddy. First off, you remember Melanie Mac?
I mean, yeah, I know Melanie Mac for I don't know over a decade probably. She
Well,
sucks.
wow, dude, like what happened there?
She
She,
I really like what are you referring to? How she's like an annoying grifter?
well, that or like now she's like, I guess she's always been a really devout, or I don't, she
No,
will just
not
religious,
always. She was religious when she was a kid, and then
and then became
um
religious again.
after she got divorced. Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know she was even married. That fucking poor
yeah.
bastard. But anyway, um, dude, like I like seeing her pop up on my Twitter the other day or X or whatever we're calling it, and she just like, what is her obsession with saying like, just saying, or I don't know, I don't want to necessarily us say it, but saying the F word. Let's put it that way.
I don't know. She's always been annoying,
It,
but she got even more annoying after she got like quote unquote canceled, and then she like just uh dove in headfirst into that space, and now she's just a grifter and she's just annoying.
is that what that is? A grifter?
I mean, that's what I would. Yeah, that's what I would assume.
Yeah, because I'm just trying to figure out like what the fuck, like I don't like.
She's antagonizing people, you know, and then she's just like trying to get reactions out of people. She's just like the quartering. The quartering's a piece of shit too.
Who's I don't even know who that is.
He's just the dude that stirs up all kinds of drama. It's really the same thing that Billy Mack
Yeah,
does. He makes YouTube videos. She does the same thing. I actually think they're friends. So
that would make sense. Yeah, because I'm just like I like scroll her Twitter feed and it's just like this fucking just toxic nonsense. Like,
and she sucks. She's super annoying.
I had to unfollow. We had to get out of there.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't know. I just like Melanie Mac, shut the fuck up. That's all we're gonna say. Last one, Sega misconducts. What
Yeah.
the fuck? So what I'm gathering,
This isn't even my misconduct. This is a red card, dude. This is a red card. You're
that's a
getting
red card.
ejected.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Sega, you had all this momentum. Now you're on suspension because that's what. This better not become a trend, right?
I thought we were moving past shit like this. I
Yeah.
thought the experimental days of DLC was over, right? Like
Mhm.
but so for people that are not knowing what we're talking about, Sega is adding in paid
New game.
new game plus for the new Yakuza game.
That's fucking bullshit, dude.
And it's like, all right. So I thought we were past like actively taking out things that used to be part of the package and then making us pay for them again. I thought we were past that.
Yeah, remember the on disc DLC phase? You had the
Yes.
oh.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, so that's a big PP whack for Sega. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I agree.
Like, and what a Yakuza game! Like, what are you out of your minds? Like, who isn't gonna play New Game Plus on a Yakuza game? Like, you guys are dicks.
Yeah.
So let's send all the negative backlash to Sega. Let's bully them into fixing it. We need bullying back.
If Sega was going to get bullied into fixing themselves, Nintendo would have done
it. No, they just got bullied into being third party. Could you imagine sitting in the room like, oh, we made the Dreamcast, this is great. Should we put a DVD player in it? Nah. That's like a fucking DVD player killed them, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, how funny is that?
Yeah.
Or here's the other funny thing about Sega. So they famously had their president at the time, I think his name was Bernie Stolar. He fucking hated Japanese games. So like all the RPGs that came out on Saturn, he was like, we don't want that shit over
here. Fuck out of here.
So I feel like the theme of this show has been like being on the wrong side of history in gaming. Because like, could you imagine like think about how much we love JRPGs here now? Like how often they come out. Could you imagine being like sitting on a board and like, yeah, fuck these Japanese RPGs, fuck them.
I've never been on that side though. Like I've never wavered from my JRPG love. I've always wanted more JRPGs in my life, you know?
Yeah. No, there've been times I've been no, there definitely been times I've been on like I've taken an L in gaming, especially like I think I was a grown ass. No, I wouldn't say grown, but I was pretty much an adult when I took my like the first system I ever bought with my own money was an L.
What was it?
A Wii U.
Oh my god, you poor bastard! You just never learned. You're like, I've been asking for these Sega Saturns, for Christmas, yeah. and people were buying you the good consoles. Like, damn, Pedro has bad taste. And you finally get your own money, and you're like, I'm gonna buy a fucking Wii U.
Well, we were on a heater for a while there because then I got like so like the GameCube I got a GameCube, then I got an Xbox and a PS. So I had all three, and then a Wii, I had a PS3 and a Wii. So like we were there, and then for some
you're doing great.
And then for first time as an adult, Wii U comes out L.
This is the one. This is the one.
So speaking of old school things, when are you coming home, buddy? When are you coming home?
To Grandia?
Yeah.
Jesus, I don't know, man. I got. Listen, we had an episode of the show last year where we talked about like the summer of JRPGs and how like packed it is. It's twice as bad now. All right, like holy fuck, we got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth coming out, Persona 3 Remake coming out, and like all kinds of other shit around the same time too. Grand Blue Fantasy is coming out, and it's like,
did you play that, by the way? Did you download the demo?
I've been too busy busting all over Midgar. Busted, dude.
So you don't think you'll be able to squeeze Grandia in this year? I think you can do it. I think it can happen.
Well, fucking when? I still gotta beat Trails into Azure, Trails into Reverie, and Trails into Daybreak.
Well, we're not getting Trails into Daybreak until June.
Oh yeah, okay. That's the fucking 5th month of the year.
Yeah, 6th, by the way, but yes,
6th, whatever.
So, what is taking you so long with some of these RPGs, buddy?
Fucking nothing, man. What are you talking about?
I don't know. I feel like you're slowing down, buddy. I feel like you're starting to show your age.
January 22nd. I've already beaten Trails into Zero. Give me a fucking slack. I'm about to beat Final Fantasy VII Remake.
I don't know. I think you can squeeze Grandia in summer.
I beat fucking 3 Trails games last year.
Bitch, I beat like 5.
I almost beat 4.
I was thinking about it the other day. I beat the entire Trails in the Sky trilogy, and then I beat the duology, and then Trails in the Reverie. So that's literally 6. Beat 6 Trails games in a year.
It's pretty good work.
That's what depression will get you. So yeah, you ever want to, fans out there, you ever want to, get through the Trail series? Break up with your girlfriend. Do it. Just do it. Just do it. You got to make time. All right. So, is there anything else in closing before we wrap this fucking show up?
I don't think so.
Oh man, it's been a good show, but it's been a good show. Been very entertaining.
Yeah.
Also, Sega kids, we still rule. Anyway, check us out on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, give us some engagement. Check us out on the Facebook. We're on X at alphanerds_prime, I believe that it is. Shout us out. We love it. We love some engagement. We have definitely had some hot takes on this show before. So, thank you everybody for listening. It's been a great show. And remember, when in doubt, square up, throw down.
Take care.